This is the machine I prefer to use when installing any kind of robotic lawnmower. You can use this too for dog fences and stuff like that. Pretty simple machine, but man, does it ever make a world of difference. Let me pull this out of the way here. Start by showing you this up here. Got the guide where you can simply loosen that up, pull this out, so you can set your distance for how far away from an object you want to lay your wire in at. You'd measure from right here on the inside of this out to the edge, and just line this up like, say this seam here between my tailgate and my bed was like the edge of your yard and your flower bed. So you just drive along there, just eyeballing this with that. Makes that real easy. You can accommodate several sizes of spools of wire. There's actually a couple more spacers that go on here that we don't have on there right now, so you can put pretty large rolls on there, smaller rolls, it doesn't matter. We've used the 800 meter spools of wire from Husqvarna quite a few times on this thing, no problem. Makes it a little bit heavier in the front, but it does have a kickstand down there, so when you have it parked, it won't tip over. Then you can see here it's got adjustment for I believe that would be for the belt for the blade. I can't remember off the top of my head, because that'd be for the blade, I think, for the blade drive. And then under here there's another adjustment. I believe that was the one for the drive itself. And over there you can see there's more adjustment. Everything is just there's so many ways to adjust the belt drives on these things. It's crazy. So you get a lot of life out of this machine and the components. Up here, this tube, your wire's coming off of your roll here, and it goes right down through this tube, and then it feeds down through this steel tubing here, and it comes out right behind the blade, which you see that blade is actually worn down. It's supposed to be squared off. But we've got a good bit of time on this thing, going through some rocky and rooted ground. So this, as you just saw, this is spring loaded here. Some good spring steel there. So what happens is the harder you push down on the machine, the deeper it goes. This is a reciprocating blade, so it just goes up and down. This is just like a high-powered sawzall here. So it's slicing into the ground, and as you're driving along, your wire is coming out behind it and going right down into the slit in the ground that you cut, and it's just being pulled down into that slice you're putting in the ground. So as I say, it depends on how hard you push as to how deep it's going to go. But the nice thing about this is when you come to a tree root or a stone or something, then it's just going to bounce up over it and then go right back down into the ground again. So you get minimal damage there to your blade, and you still get a good layer of your wire. And then the whole process that you do to start out with using this machine is you take the end of your wire and you just stake it or tie it off to something. And like I said, your wire would be coming out of this part right here. So as you're driving along and it's cutting this slice in the ground, it's just pulling that wire right down into the ground. Your wire can't move because it's attached back here to something, whether it's staked or tied down. So it just pulls it right down in the ground, and you don't see it. This thing here, it'll bury it, anywhere from if you don't have any roots or anything on top and not a whole lot of stone, it'll easily do a good 1 to 4 inches on nice ground. If the ground's a little softer, like if it just had a light drizzle, or the ground's a little moist, it's going to do a better job. It's going to put it down in there deeper. And when you do it like that under those conditions, the nice part about it is usually within maybe even like a couple hours, you can't find it again. It's gone. It's down in there and you don't see it. If you walk over the seam as you're going, it's gonna Just gonna seal that back up, and you won't even be able to tell you were there. Now this thing is self-propelled, both wheels drive. The handles here, flip this lever, and as you can see that drop down, you can actually swing the handle both ways. So this makes it good for if you get in a jam, you get against something, you just spin the handle out. So not only does it swing to both sides of the machine, let me latch this back in again quick here, but then under here, this one allows you to swing it out about 45 degrees. So if you're going under a pine tree or something like that, or some bushes you want to get in under a little bit further, you just swing that out and you can keep walking along the machine and operating it, no problem. So again, everything is so adjustable. It's so adaptable to so many conditions and to whatever you got going on that you want to put it through. And under here is the actual drive for the wheels and everything. And to make this thing drive, just a squeeze of a cable and off it goes. The blade is running full speed as soon as you start the engine up. It doesn't stop. So here's the engine. You see it's powered by a Honda GX-H50. This baby makes some noise when it's running. It has a pretty high RPMs. It's a 4-stroke engine, but it's got the low oil shut off over here. So if you do get it on some really bad inclines, it will tend to shut off every once in a while. You know, we've had it on angles a little bit more than what it should have been on. It's got a fuel shut off. It's got a choke back air. This is your throttle. We always run it wide open, just like any piece of power equipment. It's what they're designed for. So this over here, this spring-loaded arm, this keeps your oh, there it is. This spring-loaded arm keeps your rod for your spool in place. It's supposed to clamp down on that, and then it keeps your actual rod from spinning too much. And then you can see down here there's adjustments on this to help compensate more with different types of spools of wire, different sizes. So highly recommend one of these machines if you're doing anything with any kind of robotic mowers. This is pretty much the only way that you're going to make any money doing installs. It's got an hour meter on there. You know, you can also get a meter to measure how much wire you're putting out. You know, if you're charging by the foot, or you know, charging by the installed or buried foot, that's definitely the way to go. Just get one with a meter on there, or add a meter to it later. So that way it does all the counting for you. You don't have to estimate or anything. So it makes it so much easier for doing your billing. You have an actual readout there, and you just put that on there, and somebody argues with you, you can say, hey, look, right here on the machine, this is what we used. And you can see these are pneumatic tires on there. Just an overall, I mean, really, really good, well-built machine. So handy, so versatile. I really can't say enough about this thing. It is my way of choice for sure for installing any kind of robotic mower. Now this doesn't get you out of using stakes completely. You'll still use stakes here and there, you know, for, like I say, when you're starting out. And then of course when you're doing an island and you go in around the object and you go to come back out, you have to have those wires real close together. This reciprocating blade here will chop right through a wire in a heartbeat. So what you're going to want to do is run in, go around your object, and when you come back out, that's when you get your stakes out and you start staking the wire down next to where you put the wire down with the machine here. Just saves you a lot of hassle later on. You don't have to go back and look for the spot where you cut through it with the blade from the machine. So there's a valuable tip to follow. And same way a lot of times with some of the other areas where you can get really really tight, you know, depending on how your layout is. You might still have to use some stakes to get in there. If it's some really stony ground or real rocky, you might have to do something else, like, you know, say you're going across a stone driveway. Then of course you're going to want to put the wire through some conduit. You know, you're gonna have to cut the wire, run it through the conduit, and splice it, and then start back on the machine again. You know, things like that'll come up. It's just, you know, take it as they come. But overall, for the majority of the installation, this is definitely the way to go. One of these machines right here.